Hey guys, Haight Street Voice. I'm at the Bound Together Anarchist Collective Bookstore, and we're gonna interview Tom, and Ken is here. Ken and Lindsay, yay! And Tom, hey Tom, thanks for doing this. We dig you. And if you just want to start asking him questions,
Yeah, sure.
you know,
Thanks for joining us today, Tom. I really appreciate you.
You gotta go loud.
I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today. My first question for you is, why a bookstore? What brought the original collective members together around books?
Well, the bookstore was originally started as a community bookstore project. It opened up as a storefront in 1976 at the corner of Hayes and Ashbury on the other side of the Panhandle. And a lot of the people that were involved actually came out of, apparently some of them came out of the muralist movement. There was a big kind of political mural movement in San Francisco. And then it seemed to be there were also people who were involved with small press publications and also coming out of poetry circles. We carried a lot of small press publications, and there was a long-standing poetry series here at the bookstore. It was started as an all-volunteer collective, and it still is to this day. Then as new people got involved, including myself and a few other people, we wanted, some of us were considered ourselves anarchists and wanted anarchist literature on the shelves, which at the time that I got involved, there wasn't very much. There was actually a lot of Maoist literature at the time.
All right, we got books coming in, folks. See
Maybe
this?
you can, let's put them over here.
All right,
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
that's awesome. See,
Right here?
books coming in in real time.
And so,
I got more, a lot more.
All right.
oh, also, you know, this was like a bookstore opened up in 1976. I imagine the planning started sometime before that. I wasn't involved at that time. But it was during the heyday of cooperatives and collectives in San Francisco. There were food co-ops and collectives. There were arts collectives. There were all kinds of collectives at that time. Actually, if you looked at the directory of collectives at that time, that was put out, I think there was listings for maybe 160
Wow.
cooperatives and collectives in the Bay Area.
That's very cool. What does it mean to be a collective to you?
Well, collective basically means that we work it, we own it, we manage it.
Huh.
So there's really no bosses. I mean, there are definitely different degrees of experience in terms of how long people are involved and stuff like that. But it's an attempt to operate a place democratically rather than from top to bottom.
Awesome. Thank you for explaining it for me. For people in other places that are reading online or watching online that don't have access to a collective bookstore in their community, how do anarchists run a beautiful organized bookstore like this one? I know a lot of people, when they hear the word anarchy, might think of something like a Mad Max movie, and that's certainly not what I'm standing in today. So if you could talk a little bit about what it's like to run this establishment.
What it's like to what?
What it's
Run
like
this-
to run this establishment with your collective.
Oh, well, it has its ups and downs, you know. Sometimes, I mean, it's gone through various stages. Sometimes we've had a relatively small group of people. People did daily shifts, weekly shifts, and that really helped in terms of stability, keeping the hours consistent open. And then sometimes, for instance, when we reopened after being closed during the pandemic, we only had 4 people doing shifts. Mm-hmm. So it kind of goes up and down. I think it was very different before the internet, and I think it was very different in the 80s and 90s because I think that there was more stability and there were more people that were involved to actually live in this community, and that helped us in terms of staffing the place. It seems to be different now. I don't think that there seems to be less day-to-day physical presence in projects than there used to be, and that could be for all kinds of reasons, you know. I don't totally
Thank you so much.
What keeps you? Sorry, I'm going to interject.
Yeah.
What keeps you going? Like, what keeps you hanging in here?
Oh, because I think it's a valuable project. I kind of know that it is, just because I see the reactions of people that come in here.
Yeah.
And some people, especially from out of town, they're really excited, you know. And I also think there's a real need for print literature rather than everything on the internet. You know, I mean, to me, the bookstores, you know, how some people might read the painting or poetry or theater or whatever. In a way, that's what the bookstore is to me.
Yeah.
And if you're involved in the ordering process and stuff like that, it's kind of cool because you can bring in, you know, interesting marginal literature. So, you know, it's actually kind of a certain art to it. So. And you meet pretty, you know, you meet interesting people.
Awesome. It sounds like it involves a lot of teamwork and communication to be part of the Anarchist Book Collective that is bound together.
Yeah.
Important skills.
Well, we try.
My next question for you is, what do you love about the Haight and San Francisco?
Well, I first came to San Francisco. Well, actually, I visited San Francisco a number of times.
And where do you hail from originally?
Well, I lived in Michigan for a long time, but actually, I was born in Switzerland. Ended up in this country when I was 5 or 6 years old. And I was in the Midwest until 1978. Came out here for the winter, and I'm still here. Basically, yeah.
So you were here when the I-Beam was here and Nightbreak and all
Yeah.
of the music scene was going on.
I actually arrived in town. I visited San Francisco before, but I arrived in town the same day that Harvey Milk and Moscone were shot.
Oh,
Wow.
shit.
I heard it on the news on my car radio.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
so
Thank
now
you.
I always
Thanks for
remember.
that.
I always know the date I came here because I came here on the day of the City Hall assassinations.
Wow.
And I came to San Francisco because, you know, I just heard about it. I had friends who had moved out here. They said, you should come and visit. You really like this place, you know. And is that?
That's it.
Okay, thanks a lot.
It's a bit of a mess up there.
Oh,
Sorry to
don't worry
interrupt.
about
No,
it.
you're good.
like
You're
doing
good.
a
Hey,
documentary or something.
Haight Street
We'll
Voice
take care of
magazine.
it.
Haight
Oh,
Street
it's so
Voice. You can
catchy.
It's
check
kind
it
of a
out.
mess, but I got it all up there.
All right, thank you.
So yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
your name?
Take care, Eddie.
Eddie,
Yeah,
Wow.
Tom, I feel like I've met you before.
I'm sure we have.
Yeah. I'm in the mission, so.
Okay.
But I've been friends at AK Press for all these years, getting all these books, and our house has been full for a long time.
Right.
So now I changed my thing. You know, they have a thing, I didn't know this. For less money, they just send the books straight to the prisons.
Oh,
So that's
okay.
what I'm doing now.
Oh.
So it's $5
That's
less
cool.
a month for me, and the books don't come to me. They just go straight to the prison.
That's a good.
So that's better. Now I don't have to bother you again in 10 years.
No, we enjoyed being bothered.
All right, thank you. Good luck with your
Yeah,
thing.
thank you.
Oh, thanks, man.
Thank you.
Peace. Thanks for the books. That's awesome. Love that.
So where were we?
We were talking about
Your journey.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
got here.
Oh yeah, so I ended up here and I never left. I mean, what happened was in the Midwest, what was left of the 60s rapidly died in the 70s. And the anti-war movement and had collapsed. The whole counterculture movement was died. People cut their hair. They went back to business as usual, right? But out here, there was still a kind of a bastion, a countercultural bastion.
Punk rock showed up. I'll tell you
Right.
that.
Plus, it's queer friendly, you know,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So, that's so. I came out here for the winter, and I'm still here. I got involved in Bookstore and stuff like that. So.
That's awesome.
It
I'm
is
glad
awesome.
that you're still here and we get to benefit from your presence. What about the Prisoners Literature Project? Do you have a favorite story about how you've seen that touch someone's life?
Well, I actually started the Prisoners Literature Project, but originally it was oriented towards gays in prison. And it was inspired by the Gay Community News, which came out of Boston, and they did prisoners' pen pal letters oriented towards specifically gays in prison, and I think they also sent books to prison. So I wrote to them, how do you do this? Got some information. We started soliciting books from progressive publishers, and that's where it started from. Then at that time, the war on drugs was expanding, and then the AIDS epidemic started to emerge, and so we started to put in like AIDS information pamphlets in with all our packages. We got them from the SF AIDS Foundation, just so there'd be some information within the prison system. But then eventually, word got around. People started to ask us for books. Sometimes there were people we knew that were usually in jail because of like marijuana charges or something like that. So we started, if a friend asked us for books, then we would, try and do that, And so eventually over a course of time, it was no longer focused specifically on a particular group of people. It just sort of became for whomever was behind bars. So. And well, we've gotten a lot of letters. Actually, we have people that come in every now and then who have been in prison who got books, and so they always thank us. And they quite often and say it really made a difference. Some people learned to read and write this way because they were illiterate when they went to prison. One guy at a penitentiary in the state of Iowa was a gay prisoner. This is like the early 80s, and he wrote us, and he had gotten permission from the warden to actually bring in gay titles into the prison library.
Wow.
And so we did that, and that's the first time there were ever those kinds of titles in their library system. So I always thought that was kind of,
It's amazing.
I like that.
Wow.
Those are some really incredible stories.
Yeah.
I think you kind of touched on this one. My next question was, are there bigger ripples of the ways that you've seen the Prisoners Literature Project impact people or impact this neighborhood or culture more broadly?
Well, it's grown a lot. They now have a storefront in the East Bay where they do the packaging out of, and that work. They have a lot of volunteers. They now get grants. They get donations on a pretty regular basis. Sometimes they get some sizable ones too. So financially speaking, it's okay, we used to have the problem that we could get the books and we package them up, but we didn't have the money for the postal costs because we were trying to keep it separate from the bookstore finances.
Yeah.
That's no longer a problem. And then the other thing that's happened is, it's kind of like Food Not Bombs. Other people started doing it. And so now there's Books to Prisoners projects all over the United States, So.
That's awesome. That more
Way to
people-
payonier.
Absolutely.
Well, there's some other places that have been doing it for a long time too, like Left Back Books in Seattle and stuff like that. But, but it kind of caught on, and that's good,
More people connecting over literature is awesome.
Yes.
So I noticed in the store there's a lot of zines and other self-published or like small publisher media that you have available. Do you think that self-publishing or small publishers are an important part of the books that are available? Important part of the books that are available to people today?
Yes, and they always have been here, because we've always gotten our books from alternative publishers, left-wing presses, anarchist publishers, small presses and stuff like that. Yeah, I think it's very important. Because you can't find it in mainstream bookstores.
I'm also biased, I agree with you. What was the first wave of zine culture like when Xerox machines became a thing and we could
I
make
think
quick
a lot of
copies?
it actually, when I think about it, a lot of it probably came out of the punk scene. And we're talking about late 70s, early 80s.
V-Vale. What's the point? Would you know V-Vale?
Yeah.
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 He was doing this little zine. Search and Destroy.
Yeah. And then there were people like Aaron Comet Bus, who did Comet Bus, which is still coming out today. And I think we've been carrying his stuff since at least the 80s. Let's see. At least 30 years. And now there's been a resurgence in it too.
Do you feel like small publishers or self-publishing has supported the counterculture movements you've seen rise in San Francisco over the years?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Could you speak to any of those that you've seen while you've been here?
Well, things like Comet Bus, definitely, especially in terms of documenting the countercultural literary scene and punk culture. But there's also like Fluke Publishing, comes out of Phoenix now. There were all kinds of local zines too.
So my next question for you is, what does counterculture mean to you?
What does counterculture mean to me? Well,
In today's world, with the orange clown at the wheel, the weirdness that we're in.
it's kind of similar to being in the counterculture during Nixon and Reagan, when the right wing was really in your face, and seemed to be very ominous. Though it's a situation we're now in. I mean, it's kind of unprecedented, and I think it's far more dangerous. I just think it's important to have currents of resistance. What will happen with it, where it'll go, I don't know. Nobody knows. I think it's important. Also, I also think it helps people's sanity and mental health to see at least there's some sort of resistance and hopefully, reason and rationale, because things are just so insane.
Absolutely.
The timing of the Counterculture Museum coming in, how do you feel about the Counterculture Museum coming in April? They're going to open on the corner. The same people that run the Beat Museum over here.
Actually, I like the Beat Museum. I've been there a
it's
number
wonderful.
of times. So
Yeah.
if the culture museums like that, I'll be.
A place to hang out and learn,
Yeah,
instead of a retail place or a restaurant or
Right.
what we do need is music, though.
Okay.
We need music.
Yeah.
But, what was the last one? I forgot.
We got a couple more. The next one is, do you think, or what's the task of counterculture today in the face of all of the things that we just talked about, like to keep hope, it sounds like?
Yeah, maybe to carve out some sort of autonomous zone for people.
Autonomous zone? So,
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Autonomous zones can be like anything from spaces where punk garage bands play to spaces like this, the Beat Museum,
Okay.
I even consider the City Lights Bookstore an autonomous zone,
Yeah.
They have some great stuff in there to choose from. Two more. What advice do you have for those of us that are first learning about places like BoundTogetherBooks?
God, I don't really know if I'm going to give advice. Support these spaces,
Yeah.
And if you can get involved, have some patience, because we can't promise utopia or anything like that. We go through ups and downs.
Yeah.
And then finally, after someone visits BoundTogetherBooks on Haight, where's the next place that you think they really need to see in the neighborhood?
Where do I send them? There used to be a lot more places in the past than there is now.
We still got Amoeba.
Yeah, I do send, it depends. If they're looking for music or something like that, I might send them to Amoeba. If they're looking for books, I will. And we don't have it. I send them to the 2 other bookstores on the street. But quite often, I'll send them to other neighborhoods in the city. Like I refer a lot of people to City Lights,
Yeah.
you know, or Silver Sprocket of Valencia Street,
Silver Sprocket.
which specializes like in graphic novels and zines, and is also very LGBTQ oriented, you know. And sometimes the Beat Museum, they're interested in beat stuff or poetry, and quite often City Lights because they have the poetry room upstairs, you know. You know, the problem is there's fewer places to refer people to because of what's happened in San Francisco, you know.
But I feel like the North Beach and the Haight are still connected in some way, shape, or form. Like I do feel like
Yeah.
there is that from the Beats. They came over here, and then the hippies came. So that, in fact, I might even interview Coppola. I'm hoping to get an interview with Coppola.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Just as talking about those two communities because they are connected in a spiritual way,
Right.
if I can say that. But
No, I
yeah.
think that's true.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey.
See ya.
All right, and my last one is, how can someone support the Prisoners Literature Project?
You could support it financially. You could support it in terms of helping with the actual mailing out of the packages to prisoners. But that happens out of their storefronts in Berkeley, you know. And you can go on their website.
Awesome.
Donate books probably, too, like that.
Or that too.
Yeah.
Donate books.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us about
Yeah.
the bookstore
Yeah, Tom.
and your work
Sure.
with the Prisoners Literature Project,
And he mails
everything.
the magazine out to the buddies.
That's
So
awesome.
your
Yeah.
stuff's going out to wherever it
I
is,
have some
Michigan.
friends.
Working with us.
They're-
Because she's a columnist. She's in every edition.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always mail them out. I have
Thank
two
you.
friends in Michigan
It's so fun.
and Oregon, too. I actually mail out multiple copies so they can give them to friends who are been to San Francisco or they're interested in the Haight, you know.
Thanks, Tom. It means a lot.
Yeah, I
Oh,
really
here's my
appreciate
last one,
taking
too.
the time to
What would you like to say to the Haight community in general if you had a big loudspeaker?
I would like people in the community to be more upfront in terms of what's happening now. I've been disappointed when I've gone down Haight Street and I haven't seen a single Palestinian solidarity flyer in the window, you know. And so, you know, if you're going to talk about peace and love, don't forget the whole notion of social justice, you know.
Thank you.
That's important. Thank you for sharing.
Do me a favor, show me. You were talking about one of the magazines, the comic. Was it?
Comic
Just
Bus?
show me while we're still rolling.
Yeah, it's this
You
one
know?
here. This is
Okay.
Comic Bus. He also does these publications too.
All right, cool.
Look him up on the internet sometime because he's from the East Bay. I think he started this. He's thinking he started this when he was high school. And he's still doing it.
Wow, that's really
He's
beautiful.
also a great writer, and he's kind of been described as the anthropologist of the punk subculture.
Wow. I gotta check that out. Yeah, V. Vale's gonna be in this edition as well.
Oh right,
Peter
yeah.
Coyote's in this one.
Oh, okay. You got
V.
some-
Vale. I got Wavy Gravy. I went to his house last week.
Did you?
The old guard.
What about Dave Whitaker?
I don't even know. Oh, Diamond Dave.
Yeah.
Diamond Dave. Yeah, I guess I could try and track him down.
He's in a
he's getting.
in a nursing home. He was in the Western Addition. There's a woman that used to take him out in a wheelchair.
Yeah, Susan, I think is her
Yeah,
name.
but I have not seen him for a long
Yeah,
time. So
I
I
saw
don't know
him.
what's going on.
I got him luckily on the 50th anniversary of the Human Being. He did this poetry
Right.
thing down there.
Yeah.
So I have him on film. In fact,
Yeah,
I should.
'cause
Yeah.
he's like in his 80s.
Oh, I know. But he's for real.
Yeah.
And then what were you saying? There was something you wanted to give to the Counterculture Museum. I think it was the posters.
A series of the book fair posters.
Okay.
Which they're not all up, but like
I'm sure
the
these love
anarchist. See these anarchist
Yeah.
book fair posters?
Yeah.
I got a bunch of those, so
All right.
I can rustle some up. There's more than that.
All right.
Because
Cool.
we organized the Anarchist Book Fair for 17 years. And then passed it on.
All right. Thanks, Tom. Always good to see you, man. Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
you. Appreciate your time. Appreciate your efforts.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
tell me how much an ad is. Maybe we could do one.
Okay, cool. Well, for you, I mean, okay, a 3 by here. Okay, we're talking shop now. All right, people. Love from Haight Street Voice.